Listen up. You've been told a lie, a massive lie. Society, social media, so-called relationship experts have fed you a false story about avoidance. They say, oh, they don't care. They just move on. No contact doesn't bother them. Wrong. Dead wrong. You think the avoidant just disappears into the sunset, happy, unbothered. You think they're free. And no, they are trapped. Trapped in a prison of their OBUNM mind. A prison made of fear, of shame, of a desperate need to be loved, but an even bigger fear of getting hurt. And here's where it gets wild, no contact. It doesn't free them. It exposes them. Listen up. Because what I'm about to tell you is going to shake the way you see this entire situation. You've been told that going no contact means you're just removing yourself, that you're just stepping back, walking away, cutting ties. But let me tell you something, they lied to you, because no contact isn't just space. It's not just silence. It's a mirror, a brutal, unforgiving, crystal clear reflection that an avoidant cannot escape. Think about it. What is an avoidant's greatest fear? Connection, emotional depth, real intimacy. Not because they don't want it, but because deep inside they don't believe they can handle it. They don't believe they're worthy of it. So what do? They push people away. They tell themselves a story, I'm better off alone. They convince themselves that the person they just walked away from. I didn't really care that much. But when you go silent, when you don't reach out, when you don't feed their ego by chasing, pleading, waiting, that's when the real battle begins. Because now, for the first time, they're left with nothing but themselves. And let me tell you something, they are not built for that. No contact doesn't give them peace. It doesn't give them relief. It gives them exposure. It forces them to sit in the one place they've avoided their entire life, their Odoian emotions. And those emotions, they aren't pretty, they aren't soft, they aren't comfortable. They are loud. They are relentless. And they come like a freaking storm. Imagine this, an avoidant walks away thinking they've escaped another close connection. They go about their life keeping busy, filling up the silence with distractions, work, hobbies, casual relationships, mindless scrolling, anything to keep them from feeling. They might even tell themselves, wow, that was easy. I knew I didn't need them. But then something weird happens. Days pass, weeks pass, and suddenly it starts creeping in. That space where you used to be is empty. That attention, that energy, that presence you used to give so freely, gone. And that is when the mirror appears. Because now, instead of being able to blame you, instead of being able to say, they were too much, they were needy, they didn't respect my space, they have to face the one truth they've spent their entire life running from. They are the problem. They are the ones who can't hold on to something real. They are the ones who sabotage. They are the ones who push away what they secretly crave. And let me tell you something, they will never admit this to you. Never. Avoidants don't show their wounds. They bury them. They smile, they laugh, they pretend they're fine. But inside, they are experiencing something they never expected, DOBT. Because no contact doesn't just remove you. It removes their escape route. It removes their ability to frame the story in their favor. It makes them sit in a silence that for once isn't comfortable. It's deafening. It's haunting. It's forcing them to ask themselves a question they have spent years avoiding. Did I just lose something I'll never get back? And that is where the suffering begins. Because an avoidant lives their life convinced that they can replace, restart, rebuild without consequence. That's why they leave so easily. That's why they act so cold. That's why they don't fight for things the way you expect them to. But when you go no contact, you break that illusion. You take away their safety net. You strip them of the belief that you are always going to be there waiting, lingering in the background like a safety option. Now, instead of feeling like they've moved on, they start feeling something they hate, uncertainty. Because let me tell you something, avoidants don't actually want to be alone. They just want control. And when you go no contact, you take that control away. They expected you to reach out. They expected you to break down. They expected you to confirm their belief that people always want more from them. But you didn't. You did the unthinkable. You disappeared. And the longer that silence lasts, the more that mirror shows them things they cannot stand to see. They start replaying moments, rethinking decisions, wondering if they were wrong. They start to realize that maybe they weren't as unaffected as they thought. And this is where it gets really crazy. Most of them won't even understand why they feel this way. They won't know why they suddenly feel restless, why their distractions aren't working, why they can't shake the feeling that something is missing. Because here's the deal: the avoidants think they are in control of their emotions. But they aren't. They are controlled by their fear. They don't make logical decisions. They make defensive ones. They don't walk away because they're strong. They walk away because they're scared. And no contact is the one thing they never prepared for. They prepared for fights. They prepared for drama. They prepared for emotional conversations, long texts, desperate attempts to pull them back. But they were not prepared for nothing. Nothing is terrifying. Nothing means they have to sit with the weight of their own choices. Nothing means they have to feel the emptiness of what they just threw away. And for an avoidant, that is pure hell. So don't ever believe that no contact doesn't affect them. Don't ever believe that they don't notice, that they don't care, that they just move on without a scratch. That's just what they want you to think. Because the truth is that the silence you created is the loudest thing they have ever heard. And the reflection they're seeing in that mirror is the one thing they were never ready to face. Listen to me, because what I'm about to tell you will shake the very foundation of what you thought you knew. You've been led to believe that avoidants don't feel, that they are these cold, detached, emotionless beings who just walk away without a second thought, that they can drop you like you never even mattered, that they can ghost you, cut you off, pretend you don't exist, and be completely fine. But that is one of the biggest lies you have ever been told. And if you don't wake up to the truth right now, you'll keep feeding into the illusion that they want you to believe. Avoidants feel, and not just a little, not just slightly, they feel everything. The pain, the loss, the confusion, the regret, it all hits them. But here's the part that will blow your mind: they are masters at hiding it. They have spent their entire lives training themselves to suppress their emotions. They've spent years conditioning themselves to believe that needing someone is weak, that love is a trap, that closeness equals pain. And so when they feel something, when their emotions rise up, their first instinct is to shove IT down. They don't cry in front of you. They don't beg you to stay. They don't tell you they miss you. Not because they don't feel it, but because admitting it would go against everything they have built their identity around. And avoidance' entire existence revolves around control. They need to feel like they are in charge of their emotions. They need to feel like they can handle everything on their own, because deep down they don't trust anyone. They don't believe that if they show vulnerability, someone will actually stay. So they run, they detach, they act indifferent, but inside there is a war. And here's what's really wild: when you go no contact, when you pull away, when you stop chasing and begging for them to come back, their emotions don't just go away. They amplify. They get stronger. Because suddenly the thing they've been running from, the fear of abandonment, the fear of losing something real, the fear that they might have just made the biggest mistake of their life, starts to consume them. But avoidants don't respond to emotions the way you do. When you miss someone, you reach out. When you feel pain, you express it. When you regret something, you try to fix it. But an avoidant will do the opposite. When they feel, they distract. They throw themselves into work. They start going out more. They scroll mindlessly on their phone, surround themselves with new people, engage in surface level relationships just to fill the void. Because feeling is their biggest enemy. But here's what they don't realize: no matter how much they try to run from it, their emotions will catch up to them. No contact forces them into a situation they have spent their whole life avoiding. They thought they could just move on, thought they could just cut you off and forget. But suddenly your absence becomes a void, and that void starts making them question everything. At first, they'll convince themselves they're fine. They'll tell themselves the same old story: I don't need them. I was right to walk away. Relationships are too much work. I'm better off alone. They'll feel relief, maybe even pride. They think they've escaped, but then slowly something starts to shift. Weeks go by, and that relief turns into unease. They start noticing the silence. the absence, the lack of your presence in their life. And it hits them harder than they ever expected. Because here's the thing, avoidants are used to people chasing them. They are used to people fighting for them, proving their worth, begging them to come back. That gives them control. That keeps them safe. But when you don't do that, when you do the unthinkable and actually walk away, that's when the panic sets in. Because now, for the first time, they have to sit in the truth of what they've done. And the craziest part, most of them won't even understand why they feel this way. They won't recognize their own emotions. All they will know is that something feels off. They'll start feeling restless, irritable, lost. The things that used to distract them won't work anymore. The people they try to replace you with won't fill the emptiness. They'll start remembering the little things, the way you made them feel safe, the way you understood them like no one else did, the way they never had to pretend with you. And then the real fear sets in, the fear that maybe, just maybe, you were the one thing in their life that was actually real. But they won't admit it. Oh no, they will fight it with everything they have. They will tell us it's nothing. They will convince themselves that it's just a phase, that they just need more distractions, more space, more time. But deep down they know they lost something they can't get back. And that pain, that regret, that realization that they might have just pushed away the one person who actually cared about them. That is what destroys them. Because here's what no one tells you. Avoidants are not as thorny as they seem. They act cold, but they are fragile. They act tough, but they are terrified. They act like they don't care, but inside they are carrying wounds so deep, they don't even know how to heal them. And when you go no contact, when you remove yourself from their life, when you stop giving them the comfort of knowing you're always there, they are forced to sit with those wounds. And it burns. They won't show it. They won't tell you. They'll put a mask and act like everything is fine. But the reality is that they are suffering in silence. And the longer no contact lasts, the worse it gets. Because every day that passes without you reaching out is another day where they have to face the truth they messed up. They pushed away something real, and now they have no idea how to get it back. And this is where you need to understand something crucial. This is not your burden to carry. This is not your responsibility to fix. They need to go through this. They need to feel this pain. They need to finally face themselves instead of running. Because the only way they will ever change, the only way they will ever grow, the only way they will ever break free from the cycle they keep repeating is if they finally realize that they are the ones causing their own suffering. But that's not your battle. That's theirs. Your job is to stand in your power, to hold your ground, to remember that no contact isn't just about making them miss you. It's about making you see your worth. Because at the end of the day, the avoidant might never admit how much they feel. They might never tell you how much no contact is affecting them. But trust me when I say this, they feel IT more than you will ever know. And the silence is the one thing they never saw coming. Listen to me and listen well, because what I'm about to tell you is going to shake you awake. You've been fed a lie. You've been tricked into thinking that avoidants just move on when they leave. That they're these cold, unfeeling, detached individuals who just drop people without a second thought. That they don't feel pain, that they don't miss you, that they don't sit in the darkness and wonder what the hell just happened. But let me tell you the truth, the real truth that no one wants to talk about. Avoidants don't move on. They distract. They don't heal. They don't process. They don't sit down and reflect like you do. They don't feel their emotions head on and deal with them like a mature adult. No, they run. They run straight into anything and everything that will keep them from feeling the weight of what they've just done. They throw themselves into work, new relationships, social media, mindless scrolling, partying, traveling, anything that will keep them from having to sit alone in silence. Because silence is the enemy. Silence is where the truth starts to creep in. At first, they think they're fine. They think they've escaped. They tell themselves that was the right choice. That relationship was getting too much. I needed space. I feel so much better now. And for a little while, it might seem like they do. They look happy. They seem unbothered. Maybe they even start dating someone new, acting like nothing happened. And you sit there watching, wondering, did I ever even add it in them? How can they move on so fast? But what you're seeing, it's not real. It's an illusion, a carefully constructed lie they tell themselves so they don't have to face the truth, because the truth is they are not fine. And here's what you need to understand. Avoidants do not experience emotions the way you do. They don't process breakups like you do. They don't feel the pain immediately. They don't sit with it and cry it out and talk about it. Instead, they suppress it, shove it down so deep that even they believe they don't care. But emotions don't just disappear. Pain doesn't just evaporate. It builds, it stacks. And while you are doing the hard work of healing, facing your emotions head on, growing, learning, becoming stronger, they are delaying the inevitable. They are setting themselves up for a breakdown they won't even see coming. Because let me tell you something, those distractions, they don't last. The workaholic phase, the nonstop socializing, the rebound relationships, the endless cycle of keeping busy just to avoid thinking. Eventually it stops working. Eventually the noise quiets down. Eventually they wake up one day and realize that no matter how many distractions they throw in their way, they can't outrun the one thing they've been avoiding their whole life themselves. And this is where the real suffering begins. They start feeling irritable, restless. They can't figure out why they feel so off. The things that used to bring them joy don't feel the same. Their work feels empty. Their relationships feel shallow. And then it hits them the realization that maybe, just maybe, they didn't escape at all. Maybe, just maybe, they made a mistake. But here's the catch: most avoidants won't even know that's what's happening to them. They won't have the emotional awareness to recognize that the void they feel inside isn't just random sadness. It's the weight of their ODUN choices catching up to them. And this is where it gets wild. Instead of facing it, instead of admitting to themselves, wow, I really missed that person. I really messed up. I need to deal with this. Do you know what most avoidants do? They try to distract themselves even more. They'll start another project, pick up a new hobby, jump into another casual relationship, anything to keep them from feeling the full weight of their regret. But here's what they don't realize: every time they suppress, every time they run, every time they avoid dealing with their emotions, they are actually making their suffering worse. Because you cannot escape what is inside you. You cannot run from the truth. And no matter how many distractions an avoidant piles up around themselves, the reality is that the loss of something real doesn't just go away. It sits there, buried deep, growing heavier and heavier with time. And while they may not show it, while they may not admit it, while they may still be trying to convince themselves they're fine, trust me when I say this, they feel IT. They just don't know how to process it. And this is why no contact is so powerful. Because when you go silent, when you step back, when you refuse to chase, you are taking away their biggest crutch, external validation. Avoidants are used to people chasing them. They are used to being the one in control. They expect you to reach out, to check in, to prove to them that they are still important. And when you don't, when you actually disappear, that's when the distractions start to fail. Because now they don't just have to distract themselves from their emotions. They have to distract themselves from the fact that you are no longer there. They have to face the terrifying reality that maybe, just maybe, this time they actually lost something they can't replace. And that realization, that's when the panic starts to creep in. That's when they start checking your social media, wondering if you've moved on, questioning if they made the right choice. But guess what? By then it's already too late, because while they were busy running, while they were busy distracting, while they were busy pretending they didn't care, you were healing. You were moving forward. You were growing into the version of yourself that no longer settles for half-hearted love. And when they finally realize what they lost, when the distractions stop working and they have nothing left to hide behind, that's when they come back. That's when they reach out, when they test the waters, when they send that, hey, how have you been? Messages to see if you're still there. But by then, you'll have a choice. You'll be standing in your power, fully aware that while they were busy running, you were busy rising. Because here's the tier of avoidants don't move on. They postpone. They heal. They distract. And while they may look like they are fine in the beginning, while they may seem like they've moved on effortlessly, the reality is that the storm is still coming for them. And when it hits, when the distractions fade and they're left alone with nothing but their own reflection, that is when they will finally feel everything they tried so hard to escape. And trust me, it will hit them harder than they ever thought possible.